Hello, I'm Langston, and I'm back on my channel, Gymlandia. And today I'm going to be talking about a very controversial topic that is pretty necessary. I think that should have been out there in the gym to now, a hot minute ago. So before I get into it, I would really like for you guys to subscribe. I get a lot of views on my videos, but those views oftentimes don't translate into subscribers. I have obviously gained a lot of subscribers in the last couple of weeks, but I can still obviously gain more. To really appreciate me if you were sharing this video, showing it to your family, particularly in our community to kind of grow my channel. There are channels that have, five, six, seven times more subscribers than me, but get less views on their videos than me. So it really appreciate me if you were, kind of, rising my subscriber count. So please make sure, and it really benefit me to do that. So thank you. So today I'm going to be talking about the Great White Hope in gymnastics. So the Great White Hope was a philosophy that was brought into the world roughly over a century ago in the early 1900s, particularly in the sport of boxing. At the time, a black boxer was dominating the boxing field, which had traditionally been a European or white sport. Obviously, people were looking all around the world for some white person that could beat him and, restore the perception of white supremacy in the sport of boxing. Fortunately, at least for that side, it did end up finding someone who was defeated later. But it sends a message towards how Black people have been perceived in sports for centuries. So obviously, this philosophy that came into boxing was not something that just sticked with boxing. The Great White Hope was something that came around to every sport. When you start seeing Black people participate in the sport, you start seeing white people become a lot more protective of that sport and try to create some message that Black people that succeed in that sport are exception, not the rule, and that, white people are still superior in it. So it's something that you've seen for more than a century. I want to talk about how we've seen it in gymnastics and how it has such a big impact in gymnastics. So basically the Great White Hope philosophy is basically, what it's saying, like the white hope for the sport, like the hope that some white person can bring the sport, can dominate in the sport, can do well in the sport. We see shades of that when we're talking about Jessica Gadrova, or in the past, Riley McCusker, Reagan Smith, Grace McCallum. And, before that, we saw Larissa Yardaki. Then before that, we saw Victoria Komova, who I think was the best example of that. So we're going to be diving into that. So this is something we saw in baseball, like we've seen this shit in basketball. We saw it in basketball earlier with the LSU versus Iowa game, where you had a lot of people banking on Iowa because Iowa did not look what traditional basketball looks like as of recently. They thought Iowa could diversify basketball, bring a lot more white athletes into basketball, which is something that failed. But again, like you saw people ramping that up, and that was a big, huge debate earlier this year. And then, we've seen this in many other sports. But, when it comes to sports like gymnastics as well as tennis and swimming, these are sports that have stayed predominantly white forever because, these are sports that are usually in areas where there aren't really a lot of Black people. So obviously, they are disproportionately white. And, in gymnastics in particular, you realistically didn't start seeing Black gymnasts, into the 90s. And you really didn't see like a lot of them until as of today. So I think that in gymnastics in particular, like you really saw this shit take off in the early 1990s. Like Dominique Dawes was a spectacular athlete. But no matter how hard Dominique Dawes worked, some Romanian gymnasts could get up there and half-ass, or some, Russian gymnasts could get up there and half-ass, and they would still give it to them. We saw this. We saw Dominique Dawes get robbed of so many titles in the 90s. And I want to say that for the most part, we haven't seen racism that blatant in gymnastics since then. But it was very unfortunate to see, some white gymnasts just half-ass and some Black gymnasts give it their all and still not get what they deserve. And, for this principle of just keeping gymnastics in the hands of Europeans. And fast forward into 2012, which is, when we really saw, a prominent Black gymnast that was globally known, which was Gabby Douglas. We saw this huge in 2012. Gabby Douglas defeated Victoria Komova. And, this is the first time I realized like how deep racism really was in gymnastics. It really showed me, the kind of bullshit that some white people be on because, you hear a lot of white people to be like, oh, we're all Americans. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter about race. But those same all-American ass white people were defending a white Russian person over their own American counterparts. All that shit we learned about in the code when you choosing a Russian hoe over an American person, like, get the fuck out of my face. Like, when I saw that, when I saw people protecting a white Russian bitch over an American person, that showed me how deep racism really was in this country and, across the globe. So Gabby easily beat Victoria Komova, in my opinion. Like it probably should have been a larger margin, in my opinion. But you have people saying she was underscored. She deserved all these things she did not deserve, including prominent gymnastic channels on this space. And Victoria Komova was not robbed of a damn thing. But she represented what gymnastics should have been in their perception, and they wanted to keep that. She, represented what they saw gymnastics as, and they worked so hard for her to protect it. She had very bad twisting form. Look at her vault form. We're gonna play this shit in slow motion. We're gonna put this shit on right here. Like, look at all these leg separations. Like, look at the flex feet. Look at the bent knees, and then look at how perfect Gabby's twisting form is. Like, look at how perfect Gabby's legs are together, but people didn't see that. We're gonna go to the all around, I mean to the team finals. Komova stepped out of bounds on vault. She literally stepped out of bounds and the judges didn't even give her that deduction. And she only scored less than 1/10 worse than Gabby with all of those deductions that we've shown you in her twisting form. So again, Shorty took all of these damn steps and people didn't give a fuck because she represented what they thought gymnastics should have been. This is Komova on beam. Like, they sit up here and credit this connection. They credit this connection to Komova. People had the audacity to be talking about Gabby's ring lead. So, people showed it doesn't matter when someone loses fair and square. It's the principle of race in this sport. Like, they wanted to see someone who looked like Komova on top of the podium. And because she didn't achieve that, they made all these damn excuses. And you saw people saying, oh, well, Komova, if Komova didn't do her best, she would do her best, she would have beat Gabby, which isn't even true. Because Komova at her best is still worse than Gabby at her best. And we saw this. If Gabby and Komova competed tomorrow, who would you bet on? Gabby. So again, Komova will never be a better gymnast than Gabby, and I'm glad that Wikipedia, keeps the truth. But you saw this perception of gymnastics that she was. You saw these salty ass Russian hoes that we saw here for a decade. These VPN connecting, have an audacity to connect the VPN just to even watch this shit. Hoes, these motherfuckers been salty ever since these three black women got USA up into space, and they lost the space race. Ever since them three black women in Hidden Figures got us into space, ever since the Russian hoes lost the space race, they don't been real salty out the mouth. And we saw this with Valentina recently. I'm gonna talk about that at the end of this video. This perception of artistry, like, we want to make gymnastics more artistic. When they all that's just a gaslighting dog whistle for saying they want to make gymnastics more white, make gymnastics what it used to be. So you gotta catch them on their gaslighting. In 2013, when Simone Biles came onto the scene, you saw the same shit. The best thing about Simone Biles that I saw someone say is Simone Biles always won by such large margins that no one could deny that she was just better than all these other hoes. But then you start seeing people get more aggressive in their racial attacks. Like, you start seeing people try to compare Simone Biles to a man. They do this shit to a whole lot of black women. Like, they do this to Serena Williams, to Simone Biles, to Meg Thee Stallion, to Michelle Obama. You got to get to the point where it's like, damn, all these black women are men. Like, be fucking for real. It's clear y'all are being so anti-black and aggressive. And it speaks a lot for black womanhood, for what it means to be a black woman in the world. Because women of color obviously deal with their discrimination, but no group of women has to defend their right to even be a woman. So, it really speaks volumes as to what it's like to be a black woman across the globe. And for Simone, the amount of attacks she dealt with, from in particular fans from Russia and just globally. And it really hit its peak in 2021 when she withdrew from the team finals. People were just really using this excuse because they had been trying to talk shit about Simone Biles forever, but they didn't have shit to say. So when she gave them a reason when she withdrew, you saw the racists come out of nowhere because they had been waiting for years to see her fall. They had been waiting for years to see her at her worst so they could have some shit to say. That's all it was. And we saw this as of now even more prominently. You got to really catch motherfuckers because they have all this shit to say about Simone Biles being not artistic. Simone isn't this, Simone isn't that. Okay, but was Shawn Johnson artistic? No, y'all didn't give a fuck because she was white. Shawn Johnson couldn't even do a split leap. She couldn't even do a perfect 180-degree split leap, but y'all didn't give a fuck because she looked like what you thought gymnasts should look like. Mary Lou Retton wasn't artistic. Alina Zemlyalikova from Russia wasn't artistic. Lilia Akinova was not artistic. Jada Carey isn't a traditional artistic gymnast, but they never had to defend their right to be a woman in this sport. So you get the principle of what the fuck I'm saying. Um, you know, Earlier this year, we saw someone running for Congress, a Republican running for Congress, attack Simone Biles, attack Gabby Douglas, attack Rebecca Andrade. I'm going to post these tweets up here. This person was defending Michaela Skinner, saying, oh, Michaela Skinner deserved, she was a better gymnast than Gabby. She's a better gymnast than Simone, which is some fucking bullshit. Like, be fucking for real. Damn, Michaela Skinner ain't better. Satterfield tried to say Michaela Skinner deserved the gold over Rebecca Andrade in the vault finals. And then it had the nerve to say, I'm not racist. Like, bitch, you got a problem with Simone, Gabby, and Rebecca. The only three black women that's ever won a gold medal, but you're not racist? Okay. So, this person was really just coming for these black women for no reason. I want to say the Gym Net did stand up for it. Like, the Gym Net really went off on that ass. And luckily, this person will not be elected. He's running for Congress in a black majority Atlanta suburban district. So yeah, he's definitely not going to win his race. But the fact that you're running for Congress and just you're also unprovoked trying to tear down Simone and Gabby for no fucking reason, it really shows, what these bitches got to go through on a daily. And people do not give them the support they deserve. It should not be people like me to have to get up here and act like this for y'all to understand their plight, understand their struggle, understand the plight that black women go through across the world. And then last quad, we saw this shit with Riley, Grace, Reagan Smith, as well as Angelina Melnikova. Because, we had never really seen white gymnasts, at the top of the food chain in terms of, being able, top American gymnasts, top global gymnasts. And we saw these gymnasts come into the fold. And excluding Melnikova, all the gymnasts failed to achieve anything they were expected to do. You saw people making all these damn excuses for them. Riley, someone who never hit an international competition in her life. Grace, someone who never qualified for an individual medal. Reagan Smith, someone who never achieved what people expected from her. It was kind of funny to see because, y'all judge black gymnasts for what they are, but you judge white gymnasts versus who they can be. You judge white women for what they can become, but you see black women for what they are. And that is really the truth, especially in gymnastics. And we saw this, come to be particular in the last quad. And we see the same sentiment with Jessica Gadrova as of now. And people, they want to see people like them win because they represent what gymnastics used to be. And because they represent what gymnastics used to be, people want to hold on and protect that. We've seen gymnastics change so dramatically in our lifetime. And it's gonna keep changing. And it's something that you really have to see, something you really have to call out. But what I tell people is, be aware of the gaslighting. See this shit for what it is. Like, these motherfuckers, they're really mad because black women are just out here thriving in gymnastics. One of the greatest powers in the world is a white woman's tears. A white woman's tears is as powerful as a nuclear weapon. And when Komova started crying, when Michaela Skinner started crying, y'all had so much sympathy for them. And Michaela Skinner, that bitch has some nerve. I will never fuck with her personally. Um, the fact that this bitch thought she had a place over an Olympic all-around champion on the team shows the entitlement, the princess mentality that some white women really have. It's like, bitch, you can never compare yourself to Gabby Douglas. Like in your worst, in your best days of your life, you can never be better than Gabby at her worst. But we saw this principle, which is why this Republican congressman was so hard to defend her. We saw this with Larissa Yardaki. People, they wanted to see Larissa beat Simone so badly so, she could return gymnastics back to what it used to be. And, Larissa never achieved that. Larissa Yardaki was always a spectacular gymnast. All these gymnasts are spectacular, but you get the point. So I think that people are going to take this shit out of context, but they get what the fuck I'm trying to say. And we saw this narrative in Ireland where it's like, you should be invisible. You should not be visible. You should be invisible. Like you should not be part of the competition. You're insignificant. And the same logic we saw back in 2012, because like how dare Gabby? Komova was the one that was promised. Victoria was the one that was promised. And Gabby was the one that stole it from her. How dare she steal that from her? How dare she robbed a girl that we thought had gymnastics in the palm of her hand? How dare some black girl take that from her? And that's really all it is. That's the logic behind this kind of racist, be kind of this entitlement, this princess mentality that you give white women, and in particular white gymnasts in this sport. And moving on to Valentina, like Valentina decided to come for Simone. This is the first time her or Svetlana Horkina or all of the Russians have done this shit. I mentioned about how they be on this anti-black bullshit all the time, but Russians be teaming up with white supremacists in the United States. And, that's why you have so many of these conservatives that be going so hard for Russia because they're fighting for the same mentality. You get what I'm saying? And you got to catch them out on their racism, on their anti-blackness, because they got so much shit to say about Gabby. They got so much shit to say about Simone, so much shit to say about Rebecca Andrade. They ain't have shit to say about Jordan Weaver. They ain't have shit to say about Ali or, Sean Johnson or, these previous gymnasts. Why did you not care when Jordan Weaver barely beat you? I know some of them had something to say, but they were not going as hard against Weaver as they were going against Gabby. They were not hitting Jordan Weaver with racist, they weren't saying racist shit about Jordan Weaver because, she beat Allie. I mean, because she beat Victoria. You know what I'm saying? So you got to catch them. You got to catch them out on their bullshit because they don't do the same shit. This came out when she tried to say Simone wasn't artistic. She just wins by difficulty. Do you remember Lilia Akaimova? Like Lilia Akaimova was not artistic. What kind of artistry did Lilia Akaimova have? What's her name? Zamo. Alina Zamolodchikova, she was not artistic. There was many Russian gymnasts that were not that artistic, that they did not dance that well. But they didn't care because it was in the skin. It was in the skin, so they didn't have shit to say. You have to watch them. The same gaslighting shit you saw with Ireland, when they released that apology video, like, oh, um, this video happened. It happened over a year ago. Like that changed the fact that it was racism, or that she made a mistake. We gave the girl her flowers at the end. Why did she not get her flowers initially? You know what I'm saying? You have to catch them out on their gaslighting. Don't sit up here and let them gaslight you and just not say some shit. And I want to say that Jensen has improved at that, but you get the message of what I'm trying to say. And I'll now play a clip that really talks about like the struggle that Black women deal with, in the United States and across the globe.
I tell you, being a Black woman, be strong, they say. Support your man. Raise a man. Think like a man. Well, damn, I gotta do all that. Who's out here working for me? Carrying my burden, building me up when I get down? Nobody. Black women out here trying to save everybody, and what do we get? Swagger jacked by white girls wearing cornrows and bamboo earrings. Ain't that a bitch? But we still try. Try to help all y'all, even when we get nothing. Is that admirable or ridiculous? I don't know. I know me sitting here is ridiculous when I could be helping, but you don't want my help. You want to do it all by yourself. Mr. Big Strong Black Man. God forbid you let a sister like me help you out. No, you don't want that. Don't let me put you on my back when you fall. Wipe the crust out of your eyes. Put a pep back in your step. Because when we do, you resent us for making you better, smarter, stronger. Then drop us so you can be with someone basic. Someone without all that baggage you left us with. But we still try. That's why I'm here. Trying and saving and trying to save like we do. Here I am. Admirable or ridiculous? Baby, you tell me.
They didn't give a damn when white women were doing it. Like they didn't give a fuck in 2008 when the whole team was white. But all of a sudden they have all this shit to say about USA gymnastics. Though you only give a fuck because who's in gymnastics? And I want to say that people have gotten a lot better calling that shit out. But in the past, people used to sit up here and act like y'all did not have a problem with Gabby just because of her race. So again, it's something that's really unfortunate to see. So with that, that's realistically all I have to say about the Great White Hope philosophy. I know I'll be starting pretty a big discussion about it. I might, revisit in the future. But thank you guys so much for tuning into my video. Make sure to have a nice day, you guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe down below, and have a nice day, you guys. Goodbye.